Hello, my name is Leela Murray, and this is my lifespan presentation for Kinesiology 372 for the spring 2023 semester. Okay, so a little introduction. These are pictures of me throughout different stages of my life. Starting from left to right, the left is one of my productions that I was in because I am heavily involved in theater, both on stage and backstage. And this was just one moment when I was on stage playing Ophelia in Hamlet. My sister took this picture of me. At Saginaw, I am involved in the theater department. I was previously one of the assistant stage managers for the musical that we just put on. And I will be the assistant director for the play Noises Off in the 23-24 school year. So I'm very excited about that. And then the next two photos are of me for my high school graduation. Both of them have both of my sisters, and then the first one has my mom in it, and the second one has my dad. Just to show that I am very family oriented, and I'm very proud of my education. The next one is just a picture of me recently, just taken during the summer with my glasses on. I don't wear them all the time, but sometimes I do. And then a picture of me right after my college orientation with the I Love SVSU sign. My mom wanted to take it, so of course I did. And then just a picture of me as a baby, just because this is a lifespan, so I want to show different stages of my life. So some reflexes during infancy. One of them is the tonic reflex, which is where the baby is laying on their back and then their head is turned to one side, so left or right. So let's say that their head is on the right side, then their right arm is going to be extended while their left arm is bent at their elbow. And this lasts till about 5 to 7 months. Personally, I had displayed this right after I was born. And my parents thought that something was actually wrong with me because my arm, and I always done the same side, my left arm was always consistently bent because I was just always in this position until about 6 months, my mom said. So right in the middle of when it should be, but they did think something was wrong with me at first. The second reflex during infancy is going to be the Moro or the startle reflex. And this is just where a baby will throw their head back and cry while extending both of their arms and legs and then, bring those back in. This typically lasts for about 2 months. When I had this, I didn't have it at first until my older sister, who's pictured here with my mom and I, accidentally discovered it. And then once she realized what it did to me, she did it all the time. And she would scare me all the time just to get this reaction out of me. So then my parents did consistently see it for a little bit up until I reached that about 2-month mark. And then the third reflex during infancy that I'm talking about today is the stepping reflex. And this is where the baby is being lifted by somebody, but their feet are touching the ground, and they will act out as if they are walking by lifting and bending their knees, by lifting their feet and bending their knees. And this typically lasts for about 3 months. My parents said that I did it at about 2 months. When I asked about them, they really couldn't remember. But they said it was about 2 months when they realized it, just because it was about around Valentine's Day is when they kind of saw it fading away, and I was born in December. So they use holidays as a lot of markers for my milestones, which we will see later in this presentation. So for some voluntary movements during infancy, one of them would be rolling over, which is typically observed around 6 months. And then my mother said that she first saw it around 5 months when my older sister moved one of my favorite toys to the opposite side of me, and I just had to have it, so I just rolled over, and that was when they first saw that. A second voluntary movement, it would be crawling, which is typically seen between 9 and 12 months. And my mom said she first saw me crawl around Halloween. So that would be at my 10-month mark. And then for stepping, it's typically seen around 12 months or a year. My mother once again said that I was first seen stepping or walking around Thanksgiving. So that would be around my 11th month mark. And then she swears that I was just walking all around my first birthday party. I like wouldn't let anybody hold me. I was just walking all around. So I guess I'll have to believe her on that one. Some childhood foundational skills. There are a lot for this that help evolve into different skills. But the three that I'm going to be talking about are hitting, catching, and throwing. For hitting, it involves swinging both arms in a vertical motion. This is typically seen in sports like baseball or softball, like where you hold a bat and then you are extending your arms and hitting of the ball. When I went through this skill, I quickly moved through the initial and elementary stages. The skill was very easy for me to adapt to. For catching, you are going to use your hands. You can use one or both, depending on if you're in a sport or what you're trying to do to catch your object that was most likely thrown at you. I don't understand why you would be catching something if it's not like thrown or like dropped towards you. Personally, I was in the initial stage for quite some time. I didn't have the coordination or the depth perception to catch things very easily. It was something I really had to work on. And then the third skill, throwing, you have an object in your hand and you just extend your arm with enough force to throw a ball or a plate or a cup or whatever is in your hand to throw, but you need that force behind it when you let go. So when you extend your arm to physically throw it. And then once again, I quickly moved through the initial and elementary stages. Similar to hitting, this was just something that was very easy for me to grasp onto. And then because of that, my childhood specialized skill was playing softball. I played this for a majority of my life. And so a progression, when I began, I didn't have accuracy in any of the three skills that I previously stated, catching, throwing, and hitting that is involved with softball. I haven't done it before for a specialized purpose, so I didn't really have any accuracy with them. So it took a while for me to complete the skills with accuracy, but with the implementation of the blocked practice, I was able to work on each skill at one time until I had it mastered. So I just worked on hitting in the batting cages, or I just worked on catching, having my dad throw the ball at me, or I just worked on throwing by throwing to my dad. And then because of that, we'd work on it for like 20 minutes each time, and then he would give me corrections right away. He was also my coach, so that might have helped a little bit. But it just helped me contain accuracy in those skills. And then I used them throughout my games and practices, and I still use them in real life. Like someone's like, hey, toss me that water bottle. I can throw it right to them without making sure that they are able to catch it. My adulthood timeline. I am currently 19, turning 20 years old. So I started in the 20s and I ended in the 80s because of the lifetime activity that we had to complete. My life expectancy was 83. So I stopped at the 80s. So in my 20s, I hope to graduate college with a master's degree in athletic training. And then I would hopefully love to start my job as an athletic trainer for a sports team. And then I would love to travel either by myself or with friends or with the sports team that I'm working with. I just would love to see the world. In my 30s, I hope to get married and have children, and I do want to move states just because I love traveling so much. I kind of want to see as much as I can. I don't want to move somewhere too far away, maybe like Pennsylvania or something, just to like stay close to family, but also be more independent and just start my own little family in my life, or just move wherever. The team that I'm working with, obviously I'll have to move if I'm working with like a professional team. In my 40s, my children will be in like middle or high school. Depending on when I have them, they could still be in elementary school. But I would love to travel again with the team if I'm still with that team now that they're older and they don't need me as much as they do when they're a baby and a child. And I would also love to take them with me when they're traveling if they're on like school breaks or something, if they align correctly. In my 50s, I would love to start teaching. I feel like that is something that I see very common with people in like the medical field, especially. They go and they do their career and then at some point they start teaching it, and I would love to do that. I don't know when the normal timeline for that is, but I saw a lot of like 50s, like later 50s, when I was researching this. So that is something I'm very interested in. And then I would love to help my kids with their college career. And um, if they're in the medical field, I could totally help them with that as well, or just anything that they need help with. In my 60s, I hope to retire and then obviously just travel some more. And then I would watch my children have children and welcome in my grandchildren and watch them and help them grow, and just keep loving my growing family. And then in the 70s and 80s, when I'm in that decade, just to spend time with my grandkids, and obviously my kids still, but just to watch them grow up and do and see their milestones for the first time, and just help my children. And then maybe move someplace warmer. Um, Move someplace else, someplace warmer. Maybe I don't do too well in extreme heat. So maybe like a Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina. I could never do Florida because that is too very hot. But just maybe someplace warmer in my 70s and 80s. So in conclusion, we went through infancy, childhood, and adulthood. For infancy, I overall developed relatively normal. Sometimes I was a little bit slower than the mark, and sometimes I was more advanced. So I believe that I would just they even out, kind of an average out of relatively normal. For my childhood, I had used these skills just to learn how to play a sport, and then of course that bleeds into just everyday regular life. So they're very useful and important today as well. And then in my adulthood, I'm hoping to live with my family for as long as I can and just live a happy, healthy life. I don't have any like health issues in my family history, so hopefully that isn't something that comes up. Um, so I just hope to live with my family for as long as I can.